Torah in this week's Parsha absolutely forbids us for taking any interest, any money for a loan being offered to somebody else. The Torah says, "V'chiyamuch achicha," when things are difficult for your brother, make sure al tikach me'ito neshech v'tarbis. Don't take ribbis. And it seems surprising to us. There doesn't seem to be anything morally reprehensible. It seems like it's actually a nice thing. If somebody's in a difficult situation, I can help that person out. Why would I not do it? And the same way, any other possession that I have, my home, my car, I can rent it out. I can give it to somebody and make money off of it. Why would that not be true when it comes to my money? Why the prohibition of ribbis? And it's very severe. The Torah tells us 5 different times in different places about the severity of charging somebody ribbis. Rav Soloveitchik explained that the key is the word achicha. What the Torah wants is to sensitize us that when another Jew comes to you, it should be no different than when your father or your brother comes. When you have somebody who's family, when you really feel that connection, you're not going to want to charge that person interest. You shouldn't want to charge the other person. It's a way of making sure that we foster those appropriate feelings of bein adam lachavero, of a relationship, the way it's supposed to be, of ahavas Yisrael, of care for another Jew. And there's another aspect as well. The Kli Yakar suggests that there's a bein adam lamakom aspect to the fact that we can't charge interest. Explains the Kli Yakar that the Torah wants to make sure that we understand, that we appreciate. Normally when a person goes into a business, an investment of some sorts, the person has no idea if it's going to succeed or not. There's a risk. What do I do when there's a risk? I have to have bitachon. I have to have amun. I have to have faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I realize that it's not all dependent on me. There are outside factors. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God himself in the end, is the one who's going to control whether the endeavor is going to be successful or not. So my eyes are still towards heaven. But when you know the person is going to pay you back, when that money is guaranteed, maybe you've even taken some collateral on it, and you know you're going to be getting it, and you're going to be making that profit, you don't have that same sense of emunah and bitachon. That's the prohibition of ribbis. That's the problem with taking interest. We lose that connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that realization that everything that happens in our lives and where the next paycheck is going to come from ultimately comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in that sense, what the Torah is teaching us is that here there's an aspect of both bein adam lamakom and bein adam lachavero. There's a realization that we have to be mechazik, that we have to work on ourselves in both areas. And that's been part of the difficulty that we've been struggling with over the past week, is that we have the pain of the loss of Klal Yisrael. We've been able to feel, and we have to hold on to those feelings of what it means, achicha. When something terrible happens to a brother, to a sibling, we feel it. And we have been feeling the pain of the devastation that took place last week to Am Yisrael. But we have to hold on to that and let it carry over in other arenas. But at the same time, we strengthen our amunah. We realize that everything that happens is for a reason, and sometimes we don't understand it. And we're left with questions, difficult ones, ones that may never be resolved. But at the same time, we hold on to our faith. We hold on to the real understanding that Hashem runs the world. Bein letav, bein lemutav, whether it's for the good or Rahman al-Litzlan for not, we realize, and we have to be mechazek, we have to reconnect and remind ourselves that whatever happens, the brachos and the things that don't seem to be brachos all come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And maybe that's why the halacha of ribbis is actually written in Yoredeya. It's bein adam lamakom. There's an aspect to it that I wouldn't expect. It seems to be bein adam lachaveru, but there's a bein adam lamakom aspect as well. That's what ribbis reminds us of being mechazek, of connecting to each other, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and hopefully with that, with those connections, then we will do our part in the final days of Sfira to be mesakein, to fix what Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim had not understood of the connection that we have to every Jew, of the connection that we have to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that will allow that the Kabbalah HaTorah that will come soon will also bring us the nechama that we so desperately need and that we yearn for as a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu.